points, high banking fees may not have been passed, but concerns about bank charges and their impact on doing business is still a hot topic today. Here to weigh in on this is founder of Global Reporters for the Caribbean, Zara Burton, sitting right there in the middle. We also have with her president of the MSME Alliance, Donovan Wignall, and vice president of the National Consumers League of Jamaica, Michael Diamond. Good morning, gentlemen and lady. Welcome to Smile Jamaica. We've been hearing so much about these banking fees every day, social media, in the media. What are the main challenges about getting this legislation passed and about getting people to understand the concerns of the fees? It's like we're talking and people saying, no, it's okay. Michael, what is the problem?
Well, I can tell you that we have to be very careful about how we go about legislating fees, especially in the banking sector. We have to do more. It's like a balancing act per se, because oftentimes what history has proven is that when we go ahead and regulate prices, especially where fees are concerned, it's actually end up hurting the consumers more, because it actually limits consumer choices and it actually increases costs. So this is something that it shouldn't be just the idea that yes, some bank fees are high, but in a free market, what we want consumers to have that choice. The choice to be able to, if one bank fee is too high, then you go to another bank. But we don't want to reduce choices just by simply over-regulating.
We're having an issue with your mic, so hold on one sec.
So Donovan, so really what I'm understanding from Michael is really the consumer has the power to legislate.
Or do they? Or do we?
Because we can decide I'm not banking with you because your fee too high. Is that what I'm hearing?
No, they don't have a lot of choices. My take on the matter is similar to regulation in the telecom sector, for example. There are two players in the market, so therefore there is the very high likelihood that there would be much price differential between both. Similarly, it's not a monopoly, but it's called an oligopoly. We have very few players in the market. So within the banking sector, the fees pretty much are similar across the different banks. What I'm saying is that the consumers at this point in time should be afforded some level of protection similar to what occurs in the telecom sector and other sectors, the utility sector, because there are few players in the market, so therefore there won't be much differential in the prices, and those entities, without even trying, can organize to have fees at a certain level. So therefore, even if you leave and go to another institution, the fees won't be much different. So therefore, it's neither here nor there, whichever institution. The fees are just going to be high. Exactly.
So competition is supposed to be good for the consumer, right, Zara?
I would think so, and I disagree with legislating fees as well. I just wanted to know that on the record. I don't take a position on whether to support or not to support this particular bill. However, what I do believe is important is that in the interest of supporting consumers to have rights and their protections and that kind of thing, I think that we do need to open it up for a more rigorous debate when it comes to whether it's our politicians or elsewhere, different forums. The small business sector has been crying about it. The GMEA has been speaking about our interest rate spreads compared to international rates. I just believe that there needs to be more of a conversation. We at 18 Degrees North, how we got involved with this, you know, we tend to tackle tough subjects. And we want to be able to start a conversation and lecture series that will tackle not just the issue of bank fees, but other tough issues as well. I believe, for instance, this morning, going on the Consumer Affairs Protection website or Commission website here in Jamaica, 13-14, the latest year that was available, the annual report that I saw, it could be more recent, but that was what I saw. And I was just looking at the recoveries that the Consumer Affairs Commission has made for consumers, and it was something like 30 million at the time. Then I looked at, okay, what percentage of this is for the industry of finance, related to finance? Less than 4%. Most of it was actually related to automobiles. So you have to ask yourself the question, is it that we are not reporting as consumers? Are we not aggrieved by banks? I don't know.
Do we know? Do we have the education
Well,
to say
and
I
that
shouldn't
is
be paying for a dormant account? I shouldn't be paying... Are we educated consumers?
And this is another thing, too, regarding dormant accounts. Fitz-Jackson, he will tell you that he would like to file class action lawsuit because he believes that these dormancy fees that were there should not have been there in the first place, and the banks need to return some of this money to the consumers. I ask myself the question, I don't know if he's right or not right, but I do ask myself this question, which is, again, recoverables. If you are aggrieved in the banking sector, how much do you recover? I actually put in an access to information request to the BOJ Deputy Governor, Mr. Robinson, asking the same questions. Okay, how many enforcement actions have we had? How many complaints have we had? Because the BOJ is obviously who regulates the commercial banks.
Right.
I'm waiting to hear the response. It might already be available, but I'm waiting to get it because I think it will inform the debate, and I think that is what we care about.
But Michael, Simone's raised an important point. It's the knowledge. I find that our consumers really don't know our rights,
Well, that is...
At worst, when it comes to banking, we don't know nothing about banking.
You're absolutely right. Psychologists have tested that when it comes to bank, there's this fear, there's a psychological fear that individuals have for banks. And what we do as consumer advocates, we want to advise and we educate individuals on their rights. Now, when you consider the fact that transactions are occurring, what responsibility or roles the banks have who are more informed? They have a right to give you this information. You have a right to access this information. You should be informed before you actually enter in many of these transactions because you need to know what the actual costs are rather than simply,
after you do it, then
you find out later that there's an issue. Now, one of the things that we find very concerning as well is that let's go 40, 50 years, how many banks in Jamaica have actually been put out of business because of sanctions or enforcements? Is it that Jamaica has perfect banking and no banks has ever been in trouble? Or is it that the consumers don't have a proper avenue to seek redress? So these are concerning issues for us as well. So it's not just simply a matter of high bank fees. It's a matter of when it's time to seek redress, whom do you go to?
Because
Yeah,
there have been a couple
in the
of that.
meantime, the banks are making record
Of
profits.
course.
Yeah, mind you,
Yes.
Because
we don't
everything
have
has a fee attached,
Yeah,
whether
and
you're doing
exactly.
something or no.
I think that, Michael and Zara is a very important point, and that is the framework within which consumer at that level seek redress. And I do not think there is any entity that provides that kind of service. There's nowhere you can go. I do not expect consumers to go and line up at the Bank of Jamaica's doorstep saying that I've been aggrieved by a particular banking entity. It does not exist. It simply does not exist. So therefore, what we're looking for...
There's a gap.
Absolutely. There is an absolute gap. So,
But what about the MSMEs? And in terms of how it affects the MSMEs, these fees?
well, the MSMEs are small companies, so therefore fees and issues surrounding banking does impact them greatly because of their size and scale.
But they will speak out. They've been speaking out more so than the average individual consumer who won't necessarily band together with
But
others.
to me, the banks have their story too. You understand what I'm saying? So what we hope to do, okay, let us say that we have some legislation in front of us, right? What do we agree with as banks? What do we not agree with as banks? What are you willing to meet us at least somewhere on in terms of the society, if anything at all? If not, why not? There are certain things that I think just need to come to the forefront a little bit more in terms of movement
And
on this
understanding.
issue, because it's a big issue for a lot of people in the public eye.
I thought the legislation probably was prematurely, the entire debate surrounding legislation was prematurely ended. I mean, the political consideration aside, I think it was a game-changing piece of legislation. I think it should have been tweaked and engineered in such a way that, I mean, across the full spectrum of businesses and consumers in Jamaica, we would have garnered some benefits. So I think it's something that should be revisited. Absolutely. And within that legislation, an entity should emerge that allows consumers at the very lowest level
That kind of
to have some means
dialogue
of
and that
recourse.
kind
Yes.
of, because it's a national issue.
It is.
And every citizen should have an opportunity to join the national dialogue.
Absolutely.
All right, thank you very much for being with us. Keep the dialogue going.
Zara's going to be on it,
absolutely.
man.
Keep the dialogue
We
going.
know.
Founder of Global Reporters for the Caribbean, Zara Burton, President of the MSME Alliance, Donovan Wignall, and Vice President of the National Consumers League of Jamaica, Michael Diamond.
All right, folks, we get another Rebel Salute preview, Daviana, after we return from Studio B, where we have the news. Soon come.